Hello everyone, my name is J.S. Matthews and welcome back to Writing and Role-Playing. Today we're going to continue on looking at my paint jobs of the Journeys in Middle-earth line of miniatures, and it's a really great board game. If you didn't watch the first episode, I would highly encourage it, where I cover the base game. Today we're going to be looking at the first major expansion of the game. It's called the Shadowed Paths, and we're going to be looking at pretty much every miniature in the game. I'll be showing you kind of some nice little zoomed in photos of everything I've done, and I'll just be kind of explaining to you which ones I like and just kind of my thought process when I was painting them. So let's go ahead and jump right on in. So first off, we're going to start with the heroes again, and our first hero here is Balin, son of Hundin, who of course we know from both The Hobbit and his untimely end that we find in Lord of the Rings. And this model is fantastic, a great dwarf model, kind of a dwarf ranger. I really like that. I think this might be one of the best cloaks I've ever painted, and look at that beard. That beard should make any dwarf proud. Another, again, just a great miniature. Next up, we have a hero named Dis, who again is a dwarf, and she's got this awesome looking hammer, and I kind of made her look a little more regal. I'm not sure why, I just kind of felt like purple really fit with her, and then added sort of some bronze outlines to her armor, and again just kind of make her look like almost like a bit of like a noble dwarf. And again, I'm really liking kind of the white hair and adding the shadows to it and stuff like that. I think that turned out really well. Now this hero is Eleanor, and this was one of those models I just saw and I immediately thought like a rogue or a swashbuckler or a pirate, something like that. So I tried to kind of paint her in that kind of a way. So she's got the nice black gloves, right, and the black boots. If I did this over again, though, I would have done the highlighting on the boots a little bit different. I would have done some gray instead of white. But I think overall, I think she turned out great. Lots of teal and blue in there. And yeah, I think she fits that rogue sort of persona. This is Arwen, which of course we know from Lord of the Rings, and she marries Aragorn, all that fun stuff. This was an interesting model to paint. I think I did a great job on the cloak. I like that sort of like dark red, maroon, brown almost. But painting her like tiara, her little crown, really difficult but very fun. And then the little gem she's holding. Again, I really like the look of this, and it fits great with the game and with tabletop role-playing, depending on what you want to play as a character. And of course, finally, we have Gandalf, which was one of the miniatures I was looking forward to painting the most, just because my son wanted me to so bad. He absolutely loves Gandalf and Aragorn, and so when I finally got Gandalf painted, he wanted to be him in the game. And of course, works great for a wizard. You can have him be a nice advisor to your players in your role-playing games, but just a great model overall and really fun to paint. Like I really enjoyed that one. Now we're on to the villains. I think this one is like Olag or something. I can't remember the name of this villain, but nice big old troll here. I think I did a pretty good job doing the shading and a little bit of wet blending, and I love the scars on this one, how you can just kind of put a little bit of pink in there and a little bit of purple, and it really makes them look bruised and cut, and I really like that. It really kind of adds a little bit to the model. And yeah, so another big troll, really fun to paint. And then finally we have the Supplicant of Morgoth. This is another villain. So these three in a row here are actually from the villain expansion pack for this expansion. And just a really cool looking orc. And again, I really like this because I don't have many magic using orcs in my tabletop role-playing games. And so having sort of like a shamanistic, orc to throw in there was kind of cool. A nice unique model. And it was fun painting all the bones and little things around the orc's neck. And it's pretty cool. This character's name is Ursa, and I think this is a girl. I actually haven't played this expansion yet as much as the other ones, but this one was really fun to do. I did a little bit of object source lighting, as you can tell as it spins around here. I immediately thought of Celebrimbor from the Shadow of Mordor series, and that's kind of how I painted this character, and I'm actually going to use this in a future video. A couple of these miniatures, actually, we're going to talk about how to make a fun villain, but I like that sort of like looks like she's holding something glowing in her hand, and I really like the way it looked. I think it turned out great. And here we have I think these are just called the Dead Men. They're whites or spirits, and again I painted them very similar to the villain that they kind of go with, and just tried to make it very eerie looking and translucent. I think it turned out really well. It's the first time painting something like this, and I really like the way these turned out. And again, they're going to work great as enemies for my characters in my games. Then we have the orc slave master, I believe, or slave driver, and he's got his cool looking whip. And I painted these very differently, so if I actually showed you the other two, I kind of mixed up the armor colors a little bit. So in this one, he's got sort of like some bronze pauldrons and some darker iron, and some of the other ones are a little bit more silver with the bronze. And yeah, so I tried to make them a little bit different each. And then we have the Goblin Spearman. You get 6 of these guys, and these were really fun to paint. I tried to paint each of them a little bit differently. And again, this is something I learned, is make the miniatures your own. You don't have to paint them the way somebody else did. And so throwing on that little bit of war paint, I thought was really cool. So each of them has their own individual little like war paint on their face. But I like this one the best. I liked sort of the white paint there. I thought that really looked good. And yeah, each of them looked a little bit different. Next, we have the spiders here, and of course my camera isn't very focused here to start off, but that's okay. These were pretty fun to paint. I had never painted anything like this before, the spiders, but I tried to get the little black eyes there and the, you know, the furry body. And yeah, I did a little wet blending, not as apparent in the video as it is in real life, but overall a fun thing to paint and actually really easy, very quick paint jobs. And that makes it a little easier. These are the nameless things, and they're these sort of like giant worms. This might be one of the best paint jobs I've ever done. I watched a video on wet blending. It was one of my first times trying it other than on the trolls, and picking those colors that really pop, the pinks and the purples, and then tying it into the tan was really fun. One of the most fun paint jobs I've done. It just looked so different than everything else that I painted, and I think it just turned out great. I definitely want to try this again on some larger models. And now this is the Spawn of Ungoliant, and again, just a very unique sort of paint job. And she's got sort of those green pustules on her and the red eyes, and yeah, I really enjoyed painting this one. Really kind of creepy looking, and I love that. I did a little wet blending on the back there as well. You can kind of see where it's lighter brown and the darker brown, and just kind of blending those together. And I really like the way that that this one turned out. It's gonna be fun to throw this against my players. Real creepy looking spider. And next up we have a couple more trolls here, and these guys, I learned a lot from painting my first troll. I really tried to do some different skin colors, and I loved the scales I did on this one, almost like the little armored scales they have. I actually primed these black, and then I just dry brushed the scales with like an iron color, and I think it turned out really good. They really look like a mountain or a cave troll. You know, they've been spending time in these mountains, and it's almost like the ore itself is part of their skin now. And that was kind of what I was thinking with it. But again, pretty easy, pretty simple paint job, went really quick. And yeah, the bigger models, I realized bigger models are definitely easier to paint than the smaller ones. Speaking of which, here's probably my favorite model out of the whole group, the Balrog. And man, this one was so much fun to paint. I spray painted it black, did black primer, and then I painted everything like a darker brown, and then I painted all the areas with fire a white. Just took my white and painted in between all the little areas there, and then I built up from the white to the yellow to the orange, and then finally to the red. And a lot of people mess that up with fire. You got to realize you got to start with the yellow. The yellow isn't at the tips, the yellow's at the beginning. But I think he turned out great. Really love the way it looks, and again, I cannot wait to throw that at my players sometime when we're playing our role-playing games. But anyways, that is it for the Shadowed Paths expansion for Journeys in Middle-earth. It was a blast to paint. I really enjoyed it. Got some great new minis out of it. And again, one of the things I learned this time was to paint them the way I wanted to. Do a little bit of uniqueness. I didn't look at what other people did, and instead just kind of did it on my own and just kind of, use my imagination and tried to make it what I wanted it to be. And I think they turned out really, really well, and I learned a lot of just different techniques, tried some wet blending. So if you're somebody who's a little afraid of painting, I would suggest this set of minis, because man, are they fantastic. This might be my favorite set of minis from this game, but not only that, they teach you a lot about how to paint. So anyways, thanks again for checking out my videos. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like, maybe even subscribe, and let me know which mini was your favorite or what you did differently, what advice you have for me, things like that in the comments. I really enjoy sharing my stuff. I got plenty more coming your way. If you ever want to support me or my channel, just check out my books on Amazon. I always put links in the description of the video. So I wish you all the best and good luck with all your writing and role-playing, and I will see you in the next episode. Take care.